Welcome to the Red Gauge Podcast. I'm your host, Kyle. Today, we're joined by the America's strongest woman under 74 kilos, Sarah Johnson. Thanks for coming on the show.
Hey guys, it's good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, yeah. So I always love to find out like how people got into sport and what kind of lessons they learned along the way. That ultimately led to them being phenomenally strong or successful, right? So in this case, phenomenally
Okay?
strong to be phenomenally successful.
Yeah.
But so my question is, did your sport career start at Southern Nash being the only girl on the football team?
Oh, holy cow, you dug way back and
Yeah.
found
Of
some
course I
good
did.
stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that I started at the middle school. I
Okay.
played in 7th and 8th grade, played on the softball team because the football coach was the softball coach.
Oh, okay. A little political maneuvering. You got to get it in the good graces.
Well, so I played football first, right? And then after football season was over, he just pulls me to the side. He says, "Hey, you're playing softball. You're going to be on the team. Tell your mom that you want a softball bat for Christmas and
Uh-huh.
a mitt. You're going to be on the team. It's going to be your off season." All right, cool. I'm down. I'm in. When I get to the high school, played football, basketball, I swam, and I did track and field. And I did track and field for the same reason. The football coaches were all the track coaches, but that ended up being the sport that I was the best at. That's also how I originally got into weightlifting. So our head football coach, Brian Foster, who I still talk to this day, was our weightlifting coach. He did not coach girls weightlifting, but he's the one that introduced me to lifting, power cleans, all that stuff, squatting, deadlifting. Was very encouraging about women being strong, women being good athletes, very pro me being on the football team and playing with them. And he's really someone that has stuck with me, even though I graduated from high school. Gosh, what was it? It's been 13 years now. It's been a
Hmm.
long time.
Hot minute.
But that is football is how I found weightlifting. Weightlifting is and football is also how I found track and field, which is how I ended up at the university I ended up at and found my weightlifting coach. And it all just all the pieces kind of fall together. But football is where all of it started
Yeah. Yeah.
way
That's
back in
great.
the day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was it being the only girl on a football team?
They always assume I was a kicker, which I was not. I was an offensive guard, and all 5'5", 155 pounds of me in high school did not do very well playing that. So it was a lot of watching from the sidelines. I think when I was on the varsity team, I maybe played over the course of 2 years, maybe 2 quarters worth of football.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of, but I liked it. I liked playing because all the guys on the team worked really hard. They all showed up. They were all very supportive. And so even though I didn't get to play a lot, I would not say I was successful as a football player, right? A lot of people from high school seem to remember it very differently. When I talk to people I went to high school with, they always say, "No, you were so good. You were a beast." No, I wasn't. I was third string. That's not good,
Hey, I mean,
you
third
know?
string on a varsity team at 155 pounds though might be pretty good.
Yeah, you're the last option. Like they're pulling people off the defensive line and anyone else. Like, oh, put the kicker in.
Uh,
But they were very supportive, and it was good. It taught me how to push because that's what we all did. They were all go getters. I talk about that team quite a bit. So the team that I played on, offensive line, my senior year, two of those guys played Division 1 football. Our entire backfield played Division 1 football.
yeah.
Several guys on our defensive side went and played either Division 1 or Division 2. So we had,
A
I would
really
say
solid group.
all of my senior team, including the underclassmen that played with us, we had pretty close to a dozen kids go play football somewhere.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a pretty successful program, to have that kind
Yes,
of reach out or a really talented group of kids, which happens every once in a while. Right?
it's some of both. I want to say since 2008, that high school football program has not missed the playoffs 1 year.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if you've gone back and checked it all, but for track and field, you're still ranked number 2 for indoor shot at Southern Nash and number 4 for outdoor and number 5 for discus. So you were really successful in track and field, it looks like.
I was also, you really did do your homework. Wow. I'm not gonna lie, I did not know where I fell in the rankings as a shot putter. I just knew that I won, let's see. I was all conference my sophomore, junior, senior year. I was all state my senior year in indoor and outdoor track. And that was definitely the sport I was the best at. I really enjoyed throwing. It was the one I would go to camps for.
Hmm.
And throwers are basically just big meatheads anyways, they want to lift weights and then go throw stuff. So throwing was definitely the sport that I was the best at. Track and field was the sport that I was the best at. I ended up walking on at East Carolina, uh, not actually because I was good at track and field, but because I held my high school's hang clean record. So the football coach that I was talking about, Brian Foster, coached the girl whose record I beat. Now, the girl whose record I beat was probably 5'10". Her body weight definitely started with a 2, and mine definitely didn't.
Little more traditional thrower build.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah, I
So
was
he,
a thrower. That was my one true love was
no
shot,
way.
discus, and hammer. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
It's so fun. Where did you throw in at the collegiate level as well?
No, so I was pretty good at the shot and discus. I was really a lot better at the hammer. I was my sophomore year I was number 3 in the nation for sophomores. Junior year I was number 2 in the nation for juniors. And then my senior
Holy
year
cow.
before the season started, I herniated a disc in my back.
Mm-hmm.
And it was real bad. I had like some partial paralysis, a lot of numbness in my leg and stuff, and I kind of tried to hide it from everybody because
Yeah.
track's super competitive for scholarships, and so they were like, "Well, if you can, kind of do this, then we'll give you 80% or a full ride or whatever." And I had some really good schools that I was talking to. I just had to hit
Yeah.
numbers, and the it was an extremely frustrating time because I hit all the numbers in the, just training by myself in the fall. I was like, hey, I got a
Yeah.
full ride wherever I want to go. And then got hurt and then came out and was throwing almost like had the most productive training maybe of my entire life. And then came out and was throwing almost the same distances that I was the year before, just like half not working anymore. So I didn't get to
Yeah.
go to college or anything for throwing. There was a couple like small schools that I still looked at afterwards, but I just
Mm-hmm.
like I couldn't get it to work out. So no college throwing for me.
Man.
Yeah.
Yeah, I dragged my feet and didn't do a very good job getting my name out there or
Hmm.
sending distances or videos or anything like that to people. Not that I have any videos of me throwing in high school anyways, but I basically was like, if I'm good enough, like they'll see it, they'll come find me. That's not true. That's not true at all. That's not how that works.
Yeah. I mean, it might, but good enough is like the best in the country, like, and
Yeah.
it's hard to hit that marker. Like a lot of schools don't have, recruiting staff. So if you don't send them something, they don't know you want to go.
Yeah. So that's I went to let's see. I went to outdoor states and a smaller school saw me at that competition.
Hmm.
One of the athletes there, I don't think you're supposed to do any of this stuff, but basically the coach gave one of the athletes her phone number or something like that. And then I ended up going on a visit there. It was a smaller D2 school. So I go back, I tell my high school football coach, hey, I talked to this coaching staff, they want to offer me a scholarship. He literally picks up the phone, calls ECU, tells them about me, and they let me walk on there, which did not go well for me as the small person that I am. I showed up and so the next shortest person on the team was 5'8", and their body weight started with a 2.
Uh-huh.
And the girls that were built like me were 5'10", 5'11", 6 foot. So I had a good time. I learned a lot about myself during my time doing track and field, but at the end of the day, I ended up being unsuccessful in my pursuit of being a Division 1 track and field thrower.
Did they
And
teach you how to throw hammer at all?
they did, and I was not very strong. So when you throw hammer, you're supposed to go
Uh-huh.
long arms,
Yeah, 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 yeah.
and I would start spinning, and I'd start pulling it in,
Yeah.
and
See
then
that?
I'd try to throw it like that, and my coach, you can't do that. That's not how that works.
Uh-huh. I heard a
So they
coach one time describe like if you want a good hammer thrower, you've got to find somebody who doesn't mind learning how to do a backflip for the first time in a concrete parking lot. And I thought that was a really good description of what it's like to throw the thing.
That's exactly what it feels like. It feels like you're out of control and about to fly backwards.
Uh,
You're going so fast.
yeah.
So, so I threw that. I threw weight. I never actually traveled with the team at all. Like I said, was not someone who would say I excelled at that level. I was a
Hmm.
very good high school thrower and just couldn't make the jump.
Yeah, it's hard when I saw a guy do a really cool presentation where he charted the height to body weight ratio of every Olympic gold medalist in the shot put for the last 100 years. And the
Yeah.
curve just climbs the whole time. Like they just keep getting bigger.
Yeah, they're humongous.
Uh-huh.
Have you ever met Ryan Krauser or Joe Kovacs in real life?
No, I haven't. No, I met Dylan Armstrong in real life. He's a monster.
Okay.
I've met a
Yeah.
few throwers in real life, but yeah, but I mean, those guys are both just huge.
Yeah, they're massive human beings, and people do not realize not only how tall they are, but how dense they are as people.
Yeah, yeah.
Humongous. And the women are the same way, just huge, dense,
Yeah.
extremely powerful.
Yeah.
There's levels to all this stuff, and I found it.
Yeah. Yeah, and so you did a couple, was it 2 seasons of track at Eastern?
I
Yeah.
did. So I did my freshman year, and then my sophomore year, I had shoulder surgery. So I really didn't train that much that year, which is part of the reason why I think I ended up getting cut at the very beginning of my junior year of college. So we started junior year. I mean, really, I'd gotten in shape over the summer, was feeling really good. Start practicing, start lifting. I'm like, oh, this is gonna be a good year. I'm gonna have a breakthrough. They
Hmm.
pull me in the office probably 3 weeks into the school year, and they say, we're gonna cut you. You're not producing. You're not doing what we need you to do. So we're just gonna move on.
Hmm.
Which at the time was heartbreaking because
Yeah, yeah.
you go to this school, you're trying really hard, you think you finally got things on track, and then they just say, hey, we don't think you're good enough to do this. It's time to go do something else.
Yeah, yeah. It's devastating. I remember, the when the coaches stopped calling me after I got hurt,
Yeah.
I remember like a couple of times I tried to call them and just got voicemail like 3 times in a row and was like, oh, okay, it was really hard for like probably a solid year afterwards. I was pretty in the dumps about it.
Yeah, and I knew I made a decision that day. So if you backtrack 6 to 8 months previously, I'm in my sling still.
Uh-huh.
And I had gone to, it was a kinesiology 1000 class, and the class was careers in kinesiology. And
Hmm.
the strength and conditioning professor at the university, his name's Dave Kimball. He did a whole spiel on being a strength and conditioning coach and what that actually means, because most college students that are looking to get into it go, strength and conditioning, I'm going to land a job at a Power 5 school and
Yeah.
be the head coach at
I'm gonna
Georgia
be at
in
Bama or
5 years.
Utah or something, right? Yeah, and make 250,000 a year or whatever.
Yes, no, you're probably gonna move 5 times in 4 years and you're gonna be okay with it.
Hmm.
But so he's given us that whole spiel. Very end of the spiel, he does a little promo for the weightlifting team. He goes, hey, if you like putting 150 pounds over your head every single day, come talk to me after class. Me in my sling, can't put anything over my head. Walks up to him. I was like, I like lifting weights. I'm on the track team, but I want to
Hmm.
do both. He goes, if you stop doing track, you come see me. So I get that, have that meeting with the track coach, right? Now we fast forward 6 to 8 months.
Hmm.
Have that meeting with the track coach. I'm devastated. I'm like in tears in my room by myself. I call my high school football coach, Coach Foster. I tell him what happened. I said, I've been wanting to try this weightlifting thing. I think I'm going to go train with them today. He said, all right, go train. Call me afterwards. Tell me how it goes. So I go, I love it. One of my friends was on the team already. Went with him. What did we do? We probably did power cleans or something. I don't know, something simple. But I come back, I'm like, I really like it. I think I'm going to be good at this. He said, all right, well, go be the best at it. And that was 2014. Yeah. So my first, yeah,
And so then I was looking, and you've got quite a few weightlifting results. Like you did it for a long time before kind of switching gears.
I did.
So what was the arc like for you as a weightlifter? How did the rise and the transition? Because I saw you do weightlifting, and then for just a little window of time, it seemed like there was powerlifting in there, and then it was strongman, no, and or strong woman, right? And now you've been doing strong woman
Yes.
since,
Yes. So 2014, start training with ECU's club weightlifting team. I was already cleaning 200 pounds when I showed up, but I didn't know how to split jerk, didn't know how to push jerk, didn't know how to do any of that stuff, didn't know how to snatch really. Learning how to do all that was pretty tough, but my first competition ever, what did I snatch? I think I snatched 71 kilos, so 155 pounds, clean and jerk 210, hit the absolute bare minimum qualifying total to go to the American Open. Qualified for University Nationals. That was in April of 2015.
So
Go to
opening your first meet qualified for American Nationals. That's pretty rad.
for University Nationals.
Okay, yeah,
So
yeah. Still, really, that's awesome.
yeah, so it
Yeah.
was a pretty strong start. So train up through the summer, go to University Nationals. I think I finished fifth, but I took a medal home in the clean and jerk. Clean and jerk was always my better lift. Go to American Open, qualify for senior nationals, go to senior nationals. I think I finished 10th my first year, skipped my college graduation to go to to go to senior nationals.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And then from there, it was my senior year, so I was graduating, trying to figure out what I was going to do. Got offered a scholarship to go lift for East Tennessee State,
Okay.
which, if anybody doesn't know who that is, East Tennessee State is was one of the first programs to give out scholarships to weightlifters to come lift. So
Are
they
they
offered
kind of
me,
adjunct? Didn't they have like an Olympic training center over there at some point for weightlifting?
I think they have something kind of like that because they've
Yeah.
got the Olympic rings on the wall.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I am blanking out on the Meg Stone is the professor.
Hmm.
Meg and Mike Stone are the
Yeah.
professors that help run the program.
Yeah, yeah. And Mike Stone is like the original sports scientist. Like he's done everything for the last 40 years. He's super prolific. So
He's
great
the
guy to be around.
guy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, he's the guy.
Hmm.
So I get a scholarship to go there. My coach, Dave, is not a huge fan of that, which, to be fair, East Tennessee State has not produced a ton of high level weightlifters, and they seem to. Anyway, we won't get too much into that. I don't want to make anybody mad if they listen to this podcast saying some stuff, but I end up turning the scholarship down. Do you remember Muscle Driver USA?
Uh-uh.
So, Muscle Driver was a professional weightlifting team in 2010 to 15, somewhere in that range. 2015, Muscle Driver, Penlay, all that stuff implodes. The gym shuts down. They had a professional weightlifting team in Charlotte. So all those lifters either stayed in Charlotte or came to Winston-Salem, North Carolina to train with Travis Mash.
Okay. Yeah, yeah. And I've heard Travis's name a bunch of times.
Yes.
Yeah.
So all these weightlifters are moving to Winston to train with Travis, and they're all just crushing it. Every time I open Instagram, they're posting PRs, they're having a great time, they're training in this little dungeon of a gym. And I don't know what's going on, but I want to be a part of it.
Every good gym, I've said this before and I'll say it till I die, but every good gym looks a little bit like a troll cave, you know?
And this one definitely did. They had holes in the wall, it was dirty, it was 1,000 square feet, the AC didn't work.
Uh-huh. They got 900 square feet of equipment in their 800 square foot gym, right?
Yeah, we had plates stacked up on the side of the walls because we didn't have plate holders. I mean, it was the coolest little gym. And so I turned down the scholarship. I moved there with not really a good job lined up. And I'm just figuring it out as I go.
Uh-huh. I love that you already like 3, 4 times, it's like you're just following the thing you love. Like, forget
Yeah,
about college graduation, I'm gonna go lift. Forget about worrying about a job, I'm gonna go lift, you know? Like,
yeah,
it's awesome.
yeah. And I did graduate. I've got a diploma. I
Right,
just
right, right.
didn't go
Just
to
didn't
the
want. Yeah,
ceremony,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah.
I have a really cool video that pops up every year, and it's some of my friends at my college graduation. So they're recording
Mhm.
an iPad,
Mhm.
and it's me doing clean and jerks, and then they scroll up and it's the college graduation, so I was kind of there.
Yeah, 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 yeah. They had you there in spirit, right?
Yeah,
They were
yeah.
thinking about you. Yeah. So, how'd things go training with, Travis?
I love training with Travis. So it was kind of a bumpy ride because if you take that many really good athletes and you put them in one room, it ends up being super, super competitive. So the 2017 squad that we took to nationals, I think we took a full men's and a full women's team, and Travis hyped us up. We trained so hard. It was semi-Bulgarian
Okay,
training
it's really
going
high
into this.
frequency, really high intensity. Yeah.
Yeah, we were clean and jerking and snatching pretty close to max more than once a week,
Mhm.
which in your early 20s you can get away with, but you can't get away with it for long.
Yeah. Yeah, especially, a lot of people when they look back at history and they see like, "Oh, well these guys did this, so I'm gonna try it out." They don't realize that like they had their own pharmacist, like like a
Yeah,
lot
we
of things
didn't
are different than what you're gonna be doing today under, new testing guidelines and everything.
exactly. And we did not have a pharmacist. We just had hopes and dreams. That's
Yeah.
it.
We had when we had Max on, and he talked about he went over and trained with Abajev in Bulgaria, and
Yeah,
he talked about how they had a system there. They called it Krushka, where they would, kind of like deceive the coach about how much work they were doing. So he had a chair that he sat in, so you could load the appropriate weight on the side that he looked at, and then you could leave the change off on the other side. And so they'd be doing cleans and snatches with uneven bars to like try to bring the load down a little bit.
that is absolute madness. That's madness.
So it's a thing people don't think about though when they try to adopt those plans. It's like there was a little bit of auto regulation in there.
Yeah, and unfortunately, we all got auto-regulated at nationals.
Uh-huh.
So for the entire team, they either 4 or 5 people on the team medaled, and pretty much everyone else either bombed out or went 2 for 6.
Uh-huh.
I was one of the ones I bombed out. I ended up bulging a disc in my lower back at the competition, which is why I bombed out because I could not clean and jerk more than I clean and jerked 105 in the back, so 230 in the back. Went out to take my opener and just could not do it.
Yeah.
Um, so bombed out. It took me a while to get over it because I was not rehabbing it appropriately. I would train really well for 8 to 12 weeks and then I would just hammer down as people. It's so silly because I was coaching at the time. I was working for Travis as his athletic performance coach and one of his weightlifting coaches, and I knew better,
Uh-huh.
but my athlete brain and my coach brain are not the same. Like when I go into training mode, my coach brain just completely shuts off.
Yeah. Yeah, I've told the story a few times, but I the most I ever benched just like doing the things that I love doing was like 365. And then
Yeah.
I came back after a long break and I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna do a volume of training that's actually what I'm supposed to do. And at the end of that block I did like 440 and it was only like 6 months long. And I was like, why am I like this?
Yeah, why do I do this? Yeah.
Yeah, so I feel that for you. So anyway,
Anyway, so we get kind of back in a good rhythm again. We're getting pretty close to 2018 nationals, and I pull something in my back again, probably 4 weeks out. So I don't go to nationals that year, and that's when I take a step back, and that's when I take the stint in powerlifting. So I'm like, well, maybe we just need to slow things down
hmm
and start just getting really, really strong. So then, end of 2018, I do my first powerlifting meet. It goes really good. Oddly enough, most people think, "Oh, I hurt my back. I shouldn't deadlift heavy. I shouldn't squat heavy."
made it better.
It made it better.
Yeah.
My deadlift, I think my deadlift when I started powerlifting was 330, which is not very good. So I was only deadlifting 330 as a senior national level Olympic weightlifter.
Yeah, yeah. It's not good for the sport, right? But that's
Yeah,
huge for just a person, right? Like so, you know,
that's fair. That's
that
fair.
helps a little bit.
It's still double body weight, but
hmm
for the sport of powerlifting, especially now, it's
hmm
not very good. So I start off at 330. By the time I go to my first competition, I think I'm pulling in the high threes, like 375, 385, and was squatting about the same. I squatted in reps. I loved reps. I thought they were so fun.
Yeah, yeah. I've actually
So,
been thinking about flirting with wraps because I got just like some persistent knee issues that are 20 years, and I just wrecked myself as a kid, and so it's been hard to do it real consistently. So anyway, you
yeah,
had fun with wraps?
I did do powerlifting, qualify for USPA drug tested nationals, go to that, ended up winning in 2019. Yeah, 2019, win powerlifting nationals. I had qualified for weightlifting nationals, and Travis and I talked about it, and he's like, "You need to just focus on this because you could do really good at this show. Just go to that, win it. We'll get back into weightlifting when you come back." Back, transition into super total. And then 2020 is COVID year. It's also the year that I worked as a firefighter from 2020 until the end of 2024. So I go through recruit school, can't really train. I say I couldn't train hard, but I hit a ton of PRs when I was in recruit school. Nationals in 2020 was kind of weird anyways. I think it was online for,
Yeah, you had to submit video and stuff, and
yeah. And so I ended up not doing nationals that year and didn't get back on the platform as a weightlifter nationally until 2021. So it was a pretty long stint. of me not competing as a weightlifter.
Was there anything that you got out of your powerlifting block that you thought was really valuable for your weightlifting block? I mean, aside from the fact that you were just stronger and helped with the back issues and stuff, was there any other things that like seemed like they were really good takeaways?
Oh yeah, my deadlift going up made my clean pull feel so easy. It's been so long since I've pulled on a clean and thought it was heavy off the floor.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really, I mean, when you take your deadlift from 330 to 430, all of a sudden that 275 clean doesn't feel so heavy.
Yeah.
So I remember I would come in on Fridays and the Olympic weightlifters would be doing Olympic weightlifting, and I hadn't clean and jerked in a month, but I would go in and hit 95%. I hit a PR while I was powerlifting.
Mm-hmm.
I was also working at a chiropractor's office for a short part of that too, so I learned a lot about building up core strength, reactivating all the oblique muscles and the muscles in the lower back so that I could actually power lift an Olympic lift like I was supposed to. But I would say the biggest thing is that because my brute strength or max force strength went up, my absolute strength. Why was that so hard for me to say? I don't know. But I got substantially stronger because all of my numbers went up between 50 and 100 pounds.
Mm-hmm.
So all of a sudden it's like, oh, I catch something in the front rack. It's not heavy. It's not hard to stand up with. It doesn't feel heavy on my shoulders anymore.
Mm-hmm.
As where before, when I was Olympic weightlifting, I was getting pretty close to that 90% range all the time. And so when I would get to the very top end of my Olympic lifts, it was pretty heavy just because I wasn't that strong yet.
Yeah. When
So that was
you
my biggest takeaway. I would say most Olympic weightlifters are not nearly as strong as they need to be, and none of them deadlift heavy enough. None
yeah.
of them.
Yeah. When you came back to weightlifting, was there still an element of like I'm gonna do some heavy pulls and I'm gonna do some, general, bodybuilding-ish type stuff?
Well, absolutely. When we come back, Travis and I decide that we're not going to go back to just weightlifting. We're going to do super total, which is both sports.
Mm-hmm.
And so from 2020 until when I switched to strongman in 2022, yeah, 2022, I'm just training super total. So I'm training all five lifts. I was a sumo deadlifter when I power lifted. So I was doing heavy snatches, clean and jerks, high bar and low bar squats, bench pressing, and doing sumo and conventional deadlifting. Not necessarily all in the same week, but depending on what part of your season you're in. So we're doing all of that, and my absolute strength stayed super, super high. I could pull 400 pounds pretty much anytime I wanted, which is really nice. And I was squatting in the threes pretty much anytime I wanted. And then 2021, I did probably one of my craziest little feats, which was I finished if I had made my last clean and jerk, I would have finished third, but I missed it, so I finished fifth at senior nationals and then finished second at powerlifting nationals in about a 12-day period.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome.
That was pretty cool.
That would be a hard peak to maintain to peak for the weightlifting first and then the powerlifting second. Like if you don't know that would be better if you switched them the other way, but that's a long time to try to get 4 weeks of peaking in when you can realistically only do like 8 days or whatever.
Yeah, it was definitely not the best, and then the meat was somewhere really hot, so then I did a really bad job water cutting and ended up for the powerlifting meet ended up weighing in really really light and not being able to get it back.
Yeah.
So that's part of the reason why I finished second there. The girl that beat me was also just really, really good. So she probably would have beat me on my best day anyways, but
It didn't help though.
it didn't help. I would go to push and there's just nothing there. But it
Yeah.
was a tough thing to hold, but I feel like I feel like it was not a bad time. I still squatted 375. I still pulled in the low fours. So it wasn't a bad showing, it just wasn't my best showing. Then I did my last senior nationals in 2022. Had the same exact thing happen. Went out, missed my last clean and jerk that would have got me on the podium. And I was like, all right, I knew it was my last one going in. I told my parents came with me, they came to watch. I had already talked with Travis about it. Hey, this is it. We're going to try to get on the podium, and that's it. Wrapped it up. So it was really disappointing to miss the last one, but I knew in my heart I was done with that sport. I was ready to move on to something else.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Was it, I mean, you did it for 7 years, and I'm sure in that time that you took a bunch of different approaches to training. Like when you got to where
Yeah.
you were ready to move on, did you feel like you'd kind of done as much as you were going to do, or did you feel like, it just wasn't as fulfilling as you'd hoped it would be as you kept doing it?
It was a little bit of both. You know, Olympic weightlifting, I think Olympic weightlifting is the hardest of the strength sports because your peak could be perfect. All of your squats and presses can go up, and then meet day comes around and you still don't hit a PR.
Hmm.
Maybe your technique's a little off, or maybe you just didn't sleep enough the night before. So it was a little bit of both, right? I had been doing the sport for a long time, and at a certain point in any strength sport, your PRs just start to really dry up. I think at that point, I hadn't PR'd my clean and jerk in 3 or 4 years at that point. I mean, it had been kind of a rough patch. So even though all of my strength numbers had gone up, it was not being reflected in my Olympic weightlifting. So it wasn't as fulfilling because I was having a hard time. Some of these really heavy hitters in Olympic weightlifting were coming out of the woodwork. Olivia Reeves was coming up, which, I mean, I didn't stand a chance at beating Olivia Reeves or Maddie Rogers or any of those girls, but at a certain point, it's like, all right, like, what are we actually trying to accomplish by doing this?
Hmm.
And I wanted to do Olympic weightlifting because I wanted to make a senior team, and the chances of that happening were getting super, super, super low without me just quitting my job, which I wasn't willing to do.
Right. Yeah,
I was
the
also
amount of effort you got to put into a sport like that, right? It's basically a full-time job. So if you're going to do it with a full-time job, it better be one that's pretty low stress and, you know.
And I was very much so in the opposite end of that spectrum. So the very end of my weightlifting career, I was working as a firefighter. I was working downtown, and it was very, very common for me to get 3 or 4 hours of sleep on a night that I would work,
Hmm.
maybe. So you go home, you nap, you sleep, you do your best, but you're not going to make ground up on people that are sleeping 9 or 10 hours a night and not running overdoses and car wrecks and shootings and
Yeah.
all these traumatic things. Like,
Yeah,
it
no matter
doesn't
how many times you
compare.
do it, it's still stressful when somebody's in danger, right?
Yeah, your cortisol levels and your adrenaline and all that stuff, they're always just way higher when you're at work, which I don't regret it at all. I loved that job. It was a really, really great almost 5 years, and I still got better as an Olympic weightlifter and a powerlifter while I was there. It's just a lot harder.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, a lot of those things, right? You can still put on muscle when you're in a deficit. You can still get stronger with a stressful life. It's
Yeah.
just harder, right? Every one of those things that you put on the plate just makes it a little bit more difficult, right?
Yeah, because my next to last nationals, I hit my all-time best snatch, right? And I hit it in comp. And I was always so close to hitting that clean and jerk PR. I just couldn't quite put together the dip and drive for the jerk.
Uh-huh.
So it's not like I wasn't getting better. It wasn't a recipe for me to be my absolute best.
Yeah.
And Travis and I knew that. We talked about it. He was I will say, I've always had coaches that were very honest with me about what my potential was and what was going to happen. They never lied to me or fluffed me up or anything like that. So I remember in 22 when I was getting ready to wrap everything up, he and I were talking, and he's like, "Well, what do you think the chances are I could even do any of this stuff?" He's like, "Well, you work full time, you coach, you're doing all this other stuff. The chances of you catching up with these girls is not good." I'm in the same boat. I think the exact same thing. So I think we go to nationals one more time, wrap it up,
Yeah.
call it a day.
Yeah. So how did the transition to strong woman happen then?
So interestingly enough, you rewind again to 2020. So Alec and I have been friends slash teammates since 2018. We were both on MASH Elite together way back in the day. So you rewind back to 2020. They did the online qualifier for OSG. Alec messages me out of the blue. I hadn't heard from Alec in a while. He messages me out of the blue. He goes, "Hey, I know you're really good at Olympic weightlifting. I know you're really good at powerlifting, but you're probably never going to be the best at either of those things." Which, to be fair, was very true. A little hurtful, but very true.
Yeah, what the hell, Alec?
Yeah, what the hell, dude? But he messages me and he's like, "I think because you are almost the best at this one thing and you're almost the best at this other thing, people that are good at strongman are almost the best at everything, but they're not the best at anything typically.
Mhm.
He said, so you have all the qualities to be really good at this sport. You just need to apply them and take advantage of it. I thought he was crazy. It's like, you want me to pick up big rocks and run around with sandbags? I can't do that. That's crazy. And he's like, but I still did. I trained for the qualifier, ended up not doing it. We stayed in touch over the years, and I can't remember how exactly in 22 I knew I wanted to go do it because it did look fun. I was just like, I don't know if I'm going to be as good as he thinks I'm going to be,
Mhm.
but I want to try, and it looks like a lot of fun. So in 22, I do my last nationals. I probably spent like 12 or 16 weeks just doing something fun because it had been so long since I had just taken a true off season. I did a bunch of bodybuilding and just messed around. And in the fall of, so Travis actually did my programming the first year I did strongman, and Alec did all my technical work, so they worked together.
Okay. Yeah, I mean
But
that is kind of there are kind of two sides to that coin, right? Like as a strong man, strong woman competitor, you have like a big chunk of your time can be just getting stronger, right? Just barbell work,
yes,
just getting brutally strong. And then the other part is the you got to learn how to do the events, right? And so it makes sense to have two coaches. Like it's not an insane thing to do.
yeah, and Alec would message me. I would post a video on my story before he officially started coaching me, and I'd be like, "Oh, I did axle clean and press today," and it would be the most god awful axle clean and press you've ever seen. And he would message me and be like, "You need to do XYZ, or you're not gonna have a bicep anymore."
Huh. Yeah.
Alex pretty blunt, which I very much so appreciate about him.
Hmm.
Then the end of 2022, leading into, I did my first stone session with him in 22. So
How did your
he
first
brought
stone session go? Because I have a first stone session with Alec story also. So how did your first stone session with Alec go?
my first stone session with Alec was very interesting. So he brought Gabby Dixon and Aaron Murray. They were in North Carolina training for OSG.
Hmm.
He said, "Hey, we're doing stones at the pit, which is Marcus Crowder's gym." Cool, I'm in, I'm down. So I go, I don't know anything about tacky. I've never seen tacky in my life. And I see Gabby taping her arms up, and I see Aaron not taping her arms up. And I'm like, which one do I do? What do I do? Aaron goes, well, the best don't tape their arms up. So I don't tape my arms up, and I just put tacky all over my forearms.
Uh-huh.
And I ended up loading either 175 or 180, did an extension with 230. But my forearms for the next 2 weeks looked like somebody beat me with a crowbar. It's
Yeah.
like, Aaron got me. She's sneaky, sneaky, then got me.
Yeah, so I went up to Dungeon Strength just, whatever, 2 months ago or something and got to touch
Yeah,
stone for the first time. And I think I did like 5 or 6 picks because when
yeah,
I got done with the last one, there's just kind of like blood coming out, you know? And I was like,
yeah, it
oh, I think
hurts so bad.
I was like, I would do another one, but I don't want to leave blood all over all your stones, you know? So, and I
Yeah,
also found out that when you pick up a stone, it is really important that you kind of like lean back as you extend it. Cause I just tried to like stand up with it and just like went forward, you know?
that's exactly. I think I did that on one of my reps. I just stood up and I ran right into the platform and then dropped it on the floor and just looked at it like a
Yeah, yeah.
silly goose.
Yeah, yeah. And it was like, it was
What
funny
do I
because
do now?
the pick, it was like a 295 or three something stone. Like it was around 300 pounds, the heavy
Pretty
one.
good. Yeah,
And when I went to pick it up off the ground, it felt fine. I was like, "Oh, this is
yeah,
easy, no problem. I'll just stand up with it." And
yeah.
then when I went to stand up with it, it just took me right into the rack, you know. So it was pretty fun. But Alec is funny. He's like, "Well, you don't suck at it," and I would tell you if you did. I was like,
Yeah,
"Sweet, I can work with that."
yeah, yeah. I've got a video somewhere on my phone. He goes, "Oh, she is an athlete."
Yeah,
Yes, thank you.
yeah, yeah. So that first time, he called them kisses, but those bruises, those stone kisses, are pretty intense the first time you do it.
Yeah, the first time they're a little bit more than kisses. It's I don't know. I feel like you almost need a safe word the first time with stones.
Yeah, pretty brutal. So anyway, you did stones. You were getting ready for the show.
I was not getting ready for the show. I just
Cool.
went to hang out and have a good time. They were
Okay.
getting ready for the
Yeah, yeah,
show.
yeah, yeah.
They just invited me along for the ride.
Yeah.
So let's see. We picked out a show. I did South Carolina's Strongest in April of 20. It was my first strongman show ever.
Nice.
So do that show, qualified for amateur nationals. At this point, like I said, Travis is still doing all my programming. Alec is doing all my technical work, so I'd send him videos. I was just making up as I went because I didn't have all the equipment I needed. I didn't have the right size log. So the first time I did the right size log was when I showed up for the show. I had to buy a sandbag to throw. I can't remember. I had farmer's handles, but not the nice ones. I just had the ones like you find at a CrossFit gym where you put the plates on the end and clip them on. And that's what I trained on for the first 2 years I did strongman.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. So I just did my first show, which was you were kind enough
Yeah,
to be there to judge the more power show, and
yeah.
a lot of those events I was like trying to cobble together something that was like I bought a sandbag so I could practice the stone movement at home, and but like going in the first time, a lot of it was brand new. The only sled I'd ever used had like one of the wheels that the harder you push, the harder it gets,
The
and
torque sled.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah. And so
yeah.
it definitely was a very different, like when you get to the actual meat implements, they're all a very different feel than just trying to do your best with something.
Yeah, it's totally different. It's funny you say that. The first Arnold I did, we had a sled drag, and I didn't have a sled at the gym I trained at.
Hmm.
I don't know who put this facility together, but we didn't have a sled, so I had to clip together chains and drag them across the floor. And when I finally got to the show, it felt so much better. It's like this is night and day different.
Oh
Oh,
man. The sled at Dungeon Strength felt so much worse than the one I was training on.
really?
Yeah, yeah. I
Yeah,
was
that
gonna
turf
give
can be a little tough.
Yeah, it kind of feels like you're pushing into like Play-Doh or something. Like you never feel like you can get like any kind of like momentum or, anything going on that particular surface.
No, and as soon as you stop, it doesn't give you any extra anything.
Uh-huh.
It's the worst.
Yeah, yeah. Found that out.
You're like, yeah, I'm well aware.
Well, and also when I read the event descriptions, I thought it was a sprint. I thought it was that you
Yeah,
pull it and then you push it and that was it, right? And so I'd
yeah,
been doing like my sessions were like 14 seconds, right? And then we get there and it's 90 seconds max distance. And I remember when I stood up to turn around to jog back, I stood up and turned
yeah.
around and just like completely blacked out. And I was like, oh no, there's going to be no jogging happening today.
No, that's 90 seconds of how much do you hate yourself? Yeah.
Yeah, 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 which was apparently only enough to come in second place. And I'm still irritated about it.
Still
Well, I
not a
mean, for
bad
that event,
day. It's not
for
a
that
bad
event.
day.
I did
Yeah.
win the day, so that was good.
That's all that matters.
Yeah, 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 yeah. So
So,
so anyway, I interrupted your story. You were
oh,
trying to
it's
do your
fine.
best with all of your makeshift implements to get ready?
Yeah, and I would basically I was coaching personal training and I would use my personal training money to buy new implements. So a show would come up, we'd have stuff in the show I didn't have, and so I'd go and find it or buy like I bought Atlas stones,
Mhm.
I bought sandbags, I bought a circus dumbbell. I bought all this equipment over the course of 2 years.
So is there a
But
gym in California or sorry, is there a gym in Carolina that just has all of the strongman equipment that you bought? Did you leave it behind or did you take it with you?
about 50-50.
Okay.
So I would drive to other gyms to train. I would drive down to Norse Fitness to train with John and Heather Parker. I would drive to the pit and train with Marcus and Kay Murphy. I would drive down to Spider and train with their entire crew. That crew's huge, so I'm not going to list all of them. But I would drive to other places that had all the equipment I needed, but I kind of split it up. So there's some of my equipment at Norse, there's some of it at Spider, at people's houses, like different people bought it. A random person I never met bought my Atlas stones. So
Yeah.
they're somewhere in North Carolina.
Yeah.
And then some of it made the journey over. My circus dumbbells at Dungeon. Actually, two of my circus dumbbells are at Dungeon. My throwing sandbag is in my garage. All of my plates are in my garage. My yoke's in my garage. What else is out there? There's a bunch of stuff out there. I was a collector of barbells, so I've got 5 or 6 barbells in the garage too. At one point, I owned enough equipment to open a small facility myself, and I sold about half of it when I moved.
Isn't like I got tired of going to the gym. I live in a really small town, and so
Yeah,
the gym, I'd show up late at night to work out, and I'm pretty strong, and so the
yeah,
people thought that like I'd show up and they would like pack up and leave the squat rack, and that would make me feel bad. I was like, you guys can finish your workout, and they're like, no, you're
yeah,
serious about it. And I'm like, I just did a better job picking my parents. You're here at 11 o'clock at night. You're serious about it. Like, there's no,
yeah.
so
You don't train at 11 o'clock if you don't care.
uh-huh. And so
Yeah,
I just started buying stuff for my little shop here, and now I've got it to where you just about can't walk around in there.
yeah.
And
What you got in there?
I got just a full size, like a 6-post monster rack. I got a platform. I got a leg press. I got a combo leg extension hamstring curl. I got a GHR. I got a 45-degree back extension. I got a pull down row. I got a hip thrust. I got some plyo boxes. I got a treadmill. I got
Hmm.
some sandbags and medicine balls, like heavy sandbag. I got a heavy sandbag and a throwing sandbag.
Yeah.
I mean, I pretty much got the trap bar, Kabuki transformer bar. I got a stiff bar
Yeah.
and a flexi bar. I got most of the gear.
Man, you have a nice setup. That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. And what I did was I just went to the bank. I figured out how much my gym membership was actually costing me, and I went to the bank and I was like, "How much can I borrow for $100 a month?" And they were like 7 grand. And I
Yeah.
was like, "Write me a check," and then every time I pay it off, I just go get
Damn.
another loan. So I'm paying my gym membership for
Nice.
myself, and I just buy more stuff. So
That's actually really smart. I wish I kind of wish I had thought of that.
well, and I kind of live out in the sticks, so I've been up to Dungeon a couple times, but it's an hour and a half away, so it's not like it's not going to be my daily gym.
Yeah, no, that's a haul.
Yeah,
I got pretty lucky. The last gym that I worked slash trained out of, it was a sports performance facility, so they didn't have any strongman equipment, but they let me put all my stuff in a corner.
that's nice.
So it's like it's this really nice, spotless facility, and then the corner is just grungy strongman equipment.
Although I'm gonna go out on a limb, maybe not too much of a limb. It might be a real sturdy limb, and say that if some people put a little more strongman type stuff in their routine, they'd see some pretty significant benefits out of it. Like, I don't think that most people do enough carries. I don't think people. I think stones was a really interesting experience because
Hmm.
I've got a pretty good deadlift and a pretty good row and a pretty good pull down, and I did stones, and it just nuked my back. Like some
Yeah,
little spots that were not well developed. And I
yeah,
think that there's some people could get a lot of carryover out of doing it if they understood how to roll it into their training.
I agree with that 100%. The first time I did stones, the my upper back, specifically between my shoulder blades,
Mhm.
was so sore for a few days.
Yeah.
Same thing with sandbag carries. So I actually bought my first 3 sandbags in 2020
Mhm.
prior to Alec even messaging me about Strongman. I just thought they looked cool. I think I watched a Josh Bridges CrossFit YouTube video and he had them. I was like, that looks cool. And I found some on Facebook for $50 a piece. So I bought three. I bought 100, 150, and a 200-pound sandbag.
Yeah, yeah. 200-pound sandbags, no joke.
I literally could pick it up off the floor, and that's all I could do with it. And
Uh-huh.
part of me bought it because I knew it'd be cool to have something in my garage gym that I couldn't do, or that was kind of like my Mount Everest to defeat.
It
And
was aspiration.
eventually, yeah, when I moved it out of the garage into an actual facility, it was so heavy and I was not strong enough that I had to take sand out of it so I could even move it. That was really embarrassing for me.
I got a 200-pound sandbag. That's what my heavy one is, and
Yeah,
I just had it standing, because they're like cylindrical, right? And my
yeah,
youngest son came over and he was like, "Will you give me $100 if I can pick that up?" And he's 10 years old, right?
yeah,
And I was like, "Dude, I'll
yeah,
give you $1,000 if you could pick that up." And he
yeah.
couldn't even push it over. It was
Yeah, they're
it's so just
so
dead.
heavy.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, there's no give, there's no nothing. That's
Uh,
just 200 pounds of suffering.
yeah, yeah.
So, yeah, that sandbag, the first 2 years I owned it, got used for box squats a lot more than it got used for sandbag work.
Uh-huh. Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So, but yeah, no, I used to, well, I don't want to call it bullying, but the wrestlers at the gym I trained out of would do sandbag carries, and my sandbags were the only ones there.
Uh-huh.
So they were carrying my sandbags. And they would all carry the 100-pound one. Like, no, 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 no. You wrestle at 150. You should go carry the 150 or the
Uh-huh.
175.
Yeah.
It was like twisting their arm to get them to do it. And then talk them through it, get them to learn how to do it. That first time, they're, man, that's really hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Think of how much better you'd be at wrestling if you could carry that around like it was nothing, though.
Who was the I feel silly now that I can't remember his name. I can see his face clear as I think all in pictures, so the words are harder sometimes. But he was the Russian wrestler who was like undefeated for like 18 years. Nobody even scored a point, and then Rulon Gardner beat him in the Olympics.
I don't know.
Anyway, he had like the story I heard was that he had a 400-pound sandbag that was like kind of, almost man-shaped a little, and that was his training was he'd pick
Hmm.
up and put it over his shoulder,
Yeah.
a 400-pound sandbag on the regular.
Yeah.
Having picked up a few sandbags, that's real impressive.
Yeah, it's super heavy. And I would make some of the powerlifters and football players I trained, I would make them do sandbag carries. We actually just got a bunch of sandbags so I work for the Army as an H2F strength coach, and our facility actually just got a bunch of sandbags, and I'm really excited to use them next time we're in there training. Because we got hundreds, 130s, and 150s.
Hmm.
And I don't know, I think stones can be kind of, we have stones too. We made stones, which is also a really fun DIY project.
I tried to
But
go out and do some natural stones as prep for the competition, but the natural stones
yeah,
I found were almost always a lot easier to hold on to. Because you could get them
really?
where there was a ledge or something. It was easier to get your hands around them. That was
Huh.
my
Interesting.
yeah.
Yeah, these stones aren't so heavy that I think too many people will have problems with them, but I do remember the first set of stones that I owned were not sealed, so they were always powdery, and I would squeeze them as hard as I could, and they would just slip out of my hands, and it was such a frustrating feeling.
I've had the same thing with the Rogue makes the rubber ones.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and once they're worn a little bit, they're fine, but when they're new, they're like oily, and it takes a hot minute to get them to where you can
Yeah,
actually do something with them because there's just like trying to pick up a greased pig.
it's got that film on it like the bumper plates do.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
so slick. It's not a good feeling to grab a hold of.
No, no. So when did you do your first show where you were like, oh yeah, this is my thing. I'm a strong woman now. When was it? Was it just the very first one? Were you hooked after you did it?
Yeah, so I will say I'm not very good at trying things. I'm really good at just full sending things though.
Huh. Yeah, yeah.
So when I decided I was going to do strongman, I had already decided and written down just obnoxious goals.
Hmm.
So I have a board in my room, a chalkboard, and I wrote on the chalkboard in 2022 or the beginning of 23, I wrote down like get a pro card, win nationals, win a world championship. And like I hadn't even done my first show yet.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy. That is bananas behavior.
The Everybody who ever does it is fueled by delusion. Like
Yeah.
succeed or not, the delusion's mandatory.
Yeah, no, every strength sport I've ever done, I've been a little bit delusional about. Like when I did Olympic weightlifting, I was like, oh, I want to go to the Olympic trials
Hmm.
because in 2016 they still had an Olympic trials, so I got to sit and watch it.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what I got to do, but I want to do that. And they've never had an Olympic trials since. The
Hmm.
selection process is totally different. The 18 months I did powerlifting, I was like, I want to be the best 165-pound powerlifter on the face of the earth. Like I am very, very bad at making reasonable jump. I mean, I make reasonable jumps within training. Like, all right, I got to get 400 before I do 425, 430,
Hmm.
450. But when I set out to do something, I'm never like, oh, I want to be just top five. I'm like, no, I want to beat everybody.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I think that's the only way to do it.
Yeah,
It's funny, a lot of people don't want to do that because they're afraid that people will judge them for having a ridiculous goal or a ridiculous belief in themselves or whatever.
yeah,
Nobody, for whatever reason, nobody seems to believe that you're going to do anything anyway, no matter who you are or how successful you've been. Like
yeah.
if you want to do stuff, you just have to be, you know, totally unrealistic about it. It's the only way to go.
It is. It 100% is. So I go to my first show. It was a nationals qualifier, win my weight class, and at this point, you can't even get a pro card at 160, which I didn't know when I wrote down get a pro card.
Yeah.
I just, I was like, that sounds cool. I want one of those.
The sport has grown a ton too, right? For women
Yeah.
strongmen, like the last 10 years, it's just been exploding. It's been really awesome to see.
Yeah, it went from there not really being any weight class stuff to a ton of weight class stuff, and now there's an America's Strongest for my weight class and a pro card. And I mean, even 2 years ago, this was not a pro card class.
Hmm.
So it's been really cool to see it. I would really love to see before I am done with this sport, and it probably will not benefit me at all, but I would love to see there start to be some bigger opportunities for the weight class women.
Hmm.
So one of my big goals within the sport, aside from my personal goals to do really well, is to figure out how to grow the opportunities for the weight class athletes so that maybe that girl that's in her early 20s that's very similar to me, doesn't half-ass anything, is completely delusional about
Hmm.
how things are going to go, gets those big opportunities to make a full living off of this sport because right now I don't think any weight class athletes make a full living just off this sport. They all coach, they all do something else. So it'd be really cool if some of them could be kind of like the top end of the CrossFitters. I don't know how any of that would work or what any of that's going to look like, but if they could make more money than I make off this sport, that would be a really cool thing to accomplish. Like I said, I have no idea how that's going to happen. That's another delusional, I don't know how it's going to work kind of thing, but hopefully I can figure it out over the next 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, and it's always, I mean, I've seen like the middleweight and lightweight strong women have a lot of visibility on like social media and stuff, like
Yeah,
when you see a 120, 130 pound girl, go and lift up like the Denny Stones or whatever, like it's a show, like people like
it's
to see that kind of
huge.
thing. And
Yeah,
so,
people love it.
yeah, yeah. And so like I feel like there's space for it, like they just need to figure out how to put it all together.
Yeah, we got to figure out how to promote it because I feel like the middleweight women, if you look at us, we look more like I guess high-end CrossFit athletes.
Mhm.
And people love women's CrossFit. So,
Mhm.
like, how do we figure out how to capitalize on that market and make it work within the strongman space and make this sport? I mean, strongman is supposed to be a spectacle, right? So, making shows that are a spectacle that people do want to come see and then getting people to show up for them.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So, a couple of different pieces we got to figure out, but I think that it is doable and I think that it is something that could be accomplished. So like I said, those people, those women that are in their early 20s that are just getting into strength sports have those opportunities because USA Weightlifting has figured it out. They've got those stipends for their women and men that they don't have to work another job. They can just be a weightlifter. And I don't think that was an option when I first started. You could go to the Olympic Training Center, but if you weren't at the training center, you were just working and training and trying to figure it out.
And those training center spots were really competitive. It's not like they had a barrack with for 30 people to come and be on the women's team or whatever. It's like two spots.
No, and then Colorado Springs ended up shutting down the weightlifting team, and now I think that's may have also helped. Like I said, I don't know 100%. I'm definitely not as knowledgeable about weightlifting,
Mhm.
but after the training center shut down, the stipends started not long after, and now if you're on the gold tier, I think that's what it's called, the gold tier, the gold level of Team USA, you get a pretty good stipend every month. You get enough to live off of, so
Yeah.
it's pretty nice.
Yeah, and a lot of the competitors do, they got like equipment or, sponsorships, like close relationships with equipment makers and stuff, and so they
Yeah.
there's the other revenue streams for them just on their visibility and stuff.
Yeah, some of the girls have really good sponsorships, so which is really cool. They get to make a living and do what they
Mhm.
love, and I'm really happy for them. So,
Mhm.
yeah, maybe we'll see that in strongman one day.
Okay, so you did your first meet and you were hooked. How did your first meet go? What was it like to go through? Like, can you walk us through the first show? Do you remember what your events were and how you felt about them as you were cooking through the first show?
Let's see. My first show, what were the events? We had a max log clean and press on a 10-inch log.
Okay, you were probably pretty good at that, minus the fact that a 10-inch log probably felt insane.
It felt so weird. I did 170
Uh-huh.
and missed 190, which looking back on it now, I'm like, that's bananas. I remember them saying over the loudspeaker, because me and one other girl did 170 together. I think she missed 170 and I made 170.
Mhm.
That sounds right. But I remember them getting on the loudspeaker and saying something like, "Oh, this is like something you would see at nationals. You don't usually see this at a local show."
Mhm.
And now I feel like it's pretty common to see that at a larger, especially that show because it's a regional show now.
Yeah.
So we had a max log clean and press. I remember being super excited because I like heavy pressing.
Mhm.
So I was really excited. I like to show off for a crowd too. Travis Mash used to tell me all the time, he's like, I love taking you places because you love to show off.
Yeah. 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 Anytime
So
you
we
get
had,
some heavy or extra reps or whatever, just feed off the group.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. So we had log clean and press. We had a max weight sandbag over a 12-foot bar. I can't remember if I cleared 37 or 40.
Mhm.
It was one of the two. We had a max distance Husafell in 60 seconds.
Yeah.
And the Husafell was cool. It was shaped like the state of South Carolina.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, I
Was
believe
it
I went.
like, because you don't have a giant frame, right? So, like, was that
Yeah,
are the carries hard for you because of the implement size, or are you pretty comfortable with them?
yeah.
Yeah.
I could not see where I was going. I got pretty lucky. Phil Brinkman was my judge, and he was walking next to me the whole time. And his fiance Jess, who was competing with me
Mhm.
in my weight class, would tell me when my foot crossed the line and when to turn.
Mhm.
So I couldn't see anywhere that I was going the entire time that I was doing that carry. I just told myself, you're going to go for the entire 60 seconds and it's going to hurt and you're going to win the event.
Yeah.
I want to say I ended up going 300 feet, something like that, something obnoxious. I
Yeah,
just
yeah.
remember finishing it, dropping it on the pad, and going and immediately laying down in the grass
Yeah.
and wishing that I had not had to work so hard.
How long into laying in the grass did it take before you started to feel like a regular human again?
Probably like 10 minutes. This I remember coming off of the field,
Mhm.
laying in the grass, and I was just like, my butt hurts so much. It hurts so much. Don't touch me. And everyone there is like, what's wrong with you?
Yeah, living the dream. That's what's wrong.
That's exactly right. It was living the dream.
Yeah.
What other events did we had? We were supposed to do a yoke into a farmer's carry, but the show was running really behind, so we ended up just doing a farmer's carry down and back. I feel like I'm forgetting an event. I feel usually a local show is 5. Let's see.
Yeah.
We
It
have
was a long time ago.
it was 2 years ago. That's not that long. Let's see. We had the press, log clean and press. Oh, we had an axle deadlift for reps. That's what it was.
Ooh.
And
How do
they
you
let
do
us
with
go
axle
touch and
deadlift?
go. What's that?
So how do you do with axle deadlift? Are like straps allowed, no straps allowed?
Straps allowed,
Okay.
touch and go allowed.
Oh, okay.
So it was literally just getting down commands.
Huh.
The only thing they asked was that we didn't bang the plates off the ground really hard. Oh, how many reps did I do? That was another one. I finished the event unstrapped and literally just went and laid on the floor afterwards because I did so many reps.
Mhm.
My hamstrings were sore for 2 weeks after that event.
Yeah.
I did 14 or 15 reps at 325. It was disgusting. I would finish an event and my parents and grandparents had come to watch. I can't remember if my brother and sister came too. Not important. But I would walk up to where they were and get snacks out of my lunchbox and then go sit back on the floor. But my first show was really, really good. Won all but one of the events. I lost the very last event, which was the farmer's carry.
Mm.
Jess beat me by maybe a second.
Mhm.
So ended up winning that show. Went to amateur nationals in October of that year up in Pennsylvania. Uh, Won that show. It was not a pro class yet, so there's no pro card.
Mhm.
Went to the Arnold, finished fourth, which is pretty good considering that on the day 2 my lower back was completely trashed,
Yeah.
and it was all I could do to get through the day 2 events. And then I ended up having a very similar injury to what you were talking about earlier. I compressed my sciatic nerve about 3 weeks after the Arnold, and ended up having complete and total loss of the ability to fire the lateral section of my hamstring and my right calf.
Yeah, yeah.
So I basically limped around for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
The end of 2024.
Yeah, that's a wonderful experience. I recommend it to everybody.
Yeah, if you've never walked around with one functioning leg, you should definitely try it. 10 out of 10 recommend.
I remember I was trying to hide it from my coach at first, and I
Yeah,
remember, like, I'd have to tape my foot up because I had drop foot, I couldn't pick my foot up on purpose, and so
yeah,
I'd have to, like, tape my ankle so that it wouldn't move too much so that, like, I could get up and down stairs without looking like a crazy person.
yeah.
Yeah, not a good time.
No, and could you push off your toes when you had that, or are you walking around flat-footed?
Pretty flat-footed, it was hard. Like, I could do a little, but not a lot, you know? That leg was pretty well cooked.
How did you hide that you couldn't push off your toes? Because that was the giveaway for pretty much everyone for me, is that when I walked, my gait wasn't normal
Mhm.
because I couldn't push off my toes.
Well, like I said, I was taping my ankle, so, like, it was
Yeah,
kind of at, around 90 degrees, like, plus or minus a few, whatever the tape would give, and
okay.
so if I would just kinda roll up, you know what I mean, on the tape because I had that to go with me. But It was hard. It was not good. And I don't know if anybody like I sometimes wonder if they watched me throw if I looked reasonably normal throwing or if they
Mm-hmm.
thought like what is he trying to do, you know?
Yeah. I wonder if there probably was a little of something because I know anytime I was training for that few months afterwards,
Mhm.
all of my moving events looked awful
Mhm.
until probably August of that year. I couldn't split jerk for a few months. I have a video somewhere of me trying to split jerk and my back foot goes completely flat because that was my back foot. And
Uh-huh.
I'm pretty lucky I didn't lose my Achilles on that one.
Uh,
That was a silly thing to have done, but
yeah, it's gonna happen though.
yeah. But
So you did the Arnold. What was it like going to your first Arnold?
it was going to my first Arnold as a strongman competitor was pretty cool. I remember training up for the show as the strongest I'd ever been. That was the first show, I believe that was the first show that Alec programmed for me. And I remember Alec Alec and Travis program very differently. Travis programs very heavy
Mhm.
and Alec is a little more conservative. Like we train hard, but it's more conservative. So I remember reading his deadlift progression leading into the show and texting him and telling him I didn't think we were going heavy enough. And he responded and was like, "You just need to trust me. I got this." But my first Arnold was an absolute blast. We had a bunch of our team there. Lucas did not compete at that Arnold, but Inez did. That was the year Inez hit her face on the frame. But day one at the Arnold is a qualifier, so you have to go in, have a really good showing. Let's see, did really well on the press. We had a press medley. We had a sandbag throw that I almost goofed. I got lucky and didn't goof it. I missed the very last sandbag, and Lucas had told me, he said, "You just need to finish it." He said, "If you miss one, take a second, then throw it again." I miss, immediately grab it, throw it as hard as I can, throw it directly behind me instead of up, have to
Mhm.
run and go get it and come back. He's like, "That's literally the opposite of what I told you to do, but okay."
So that was a surprise for me doing my first show is how difficult it was to follow instructions once the event had started. Like you
Yeah,
really play the way you practice, you know, like whatever you've been doing is just what you're gonna do. And so you gotta be sure that that you've practiced all the transitions and,
yeah.
all the stuff, right?
And I had not done that because I only had one throwing sandbag and one bar. Like it was a pretty cool event. So they had three bars and the bars went up in height and
Mhm.
then you had two different sandbags. So you'd start at the 25, you'd go 12, 13, 14, and then you'd go over to I think it was a 30-pound bag. Same thing, 12, 13, 14. And so I missed the 14 with the 30-pound bag, immediately forgot everything he told me, threw it behind me. It's like, damn it. He's gonna yell at me when I get done.
You knew. The moment it leaves your hands, you're like, if that had worked, then we wouldn't have had a problem, but it didn't work. And so
It didn't. And then I ran back, cleared it, and as I look out in the crowd and I just see him shaking his head, and I'm like, oh, I fucked up.
so
So
when did you move up to the Pacific Northwest from we were in Carolina the whole time and then straight to Tacoma?
yeah, so at that Arnold, we finished the show. I ended up finishing fourth, which was okay, I guess. So I finished fourth. We go out to eat at dinner. Alec has not said anything to me about this prior, right? We're sitting next to each other. He puts his arm around me. He goes, "Yeah, we're going to steal your daughter and take her to Washington." Now, mind you, I have an entire career back in North Carolina, right? That's going very well. I'm coaching at a facility, doing personal training out of a facility. Pretty happy with that. Strongman's going really well. So I wasn't planning on moving anywhere. But I told him I'd at least come visit. Came up to visit over the summer. I loved the weather here, and I think I knew when I came out to visit. I knew when I got in there and started training with everyone that that was what I needed because it was that I wasn't training with other strongmen at all leading into the Arnold Amateur Nationals, my first show. I had to buy all my own equipment, and it was a big risk, right? Like you give up a job I could have stayed at for 30 years and security and knowing how things are going to go. But
Mhm.
I ended up, I left and I knew when I left that I wanted to move. And then I just had to find a job. I ended up moving after OSG, so I showed up in Washington on December 30th of 2024.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it was a big move. I sold a bunch of my stuff. I mean, I was living in a house. I had furniture. I had, all of my own gym equipment. And I had to, yeah, I sold most of my belongings, packed up. If it did not fit, I had like a 10 by 10 U-box or whatever size a U-box is. And if it didn't fit in that U-box, it did not come to Washington.
I like that just over and over and over your story is like this is what I'm doing. I'm
Yeah,
just gonna be the strongest me I can be, you know?
yeah. Well, and Alec and I talked about it, and Travis and I talked about it because Travis worked at the same facility that I was at. And, he's like, all right, you want to be a world champion, you want to be the best in your weight class, and you don't train with other high level strongman competitors very often. I drive down to Spider or Norse, the pit,
Hmm.
once every 3 weeks, and that's just not enough.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, I've definitely, there's been a lot of times in my life where it's been like, here's this opportunity to make a lot of money or go do this cool thing. Here's weightlifting, powerlifting, strongman, and the opportunity to just get stronger, push closer to being the best at whatever sports you want to be. And I have always taken the strength avenue because there's been other times in the story, like when I first started doing strongman, I had an opportunity to go do something really cool and make a lot more money. And I wanted to be a world champion. And this is prior to me even winning a national championship,
Hmm.
and turned it down, completely stopped doing that just to for the chance to be an amateur national champion, which is pretty crazy. So that opportunity is one I don't talk about very often. I had a friend that was coaching, he was the strength coach for a NASCAR pit crew,
Okay.
which I thought was super cool. So I was like, I originally asked to go visit just because I wanted to see how he trained them, because
Hmm.
the strength coach in me, you know, how do you train a pit crew? What does their training look like? What does a practice for them look like? So when I go the first time, that's how I approached it. I was like, I just want to come watch you train these guys. He's like, hey, just so you know, they're going to want you to lift with them. Okay, whatever. I like to lift weights. That's fine. So I go, I watch their first practice, go lift weights with them, and then ended up training with them for 2 or 3 months. And their head coach was like, you're really strong. You're really good at this. You're really athletic. You could be on a team. You could be like a gas can person or the changer. So the one that runs around with
Uh-huh.
the air gun and like
Yeah, yeah, do
changes
the
the
tires and
tires.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, so I trained for that for 2 or 3 months, and I ended up leaning more towards being the gas can person because that's pretty easy. You just hold the gas can and plug it into the car. And he said, you just have to really commit to it and try. And I knew that I couldn't split my time because I was so tired, because I would go lift weights with them twice a week, and then I would do my strongman training. I was training for amateur nationals at the time.
Hmm.
And I had sat down with Travis because I don't know if you know much about NASCAR and the pit crews.
I know that there's money in racing, but that's about all I know about it.
Yeah, none of those guys are hurting for anything. They all had lake houses. They all were doing really well. And I was like, I just want to be a world champion. I don't really care about putting gas in a car. I mean, I do. It's really cool, right? And it was a cool opportunity, and all the people I worked with were really nice, but that was another time. It's like I could have gone and done that and made a bunch of money and,
Hmm.
you
Yeah,
know,
that's also I'm a teacher. That's my day job, right?
yeah.
And I teach in
Yeah.
high school, and I tell the kids a lot of times it's nice to find jobs with filters, either for who you work with or who you work for, right? So like
Yeah.
for a long time I worked in the finance center in a bank, and the
Yeah.
people that I saw all had like retirement savings and stuff, but the people the tellers saw was everybody. And so,
Yeah.
like we'd share stories about, like, I had this interaction with the person or whatever, and mine were always like, they're trying to send their kid to college, and theirs were like they asked me if they could, have $50,000 that they don't have, and then they took money out of their underwear and gave it to me, and and I'm like, that's
It's
pretty
like,
rough.
yeah, that's real rough.
So the nice thing about being at NASCAR, right, is like that's a pretty dedicated group of people. Like you're probably
Yeah.
never gonna have to deal with, the dead weight coworkers who don't want to be there and, aren't participating and, you know.
No, no, their training sessions were really fun. They all worked really hard.
Hmm.
Their practices where they were practice, fueling up the cars and changing the tires, they'd always have music bumping. The vibes were always really good. They would run through their groups really fast. So yeah, no, they were a very hardworking group, and it was a pretty interesting split. They had a pretty interesting split of people that had played either Division 1 or professional sports. Like, there
Hmm.
was a guy on their pit crew that had won a Super Bowl, and then there was another guy that just really liked racing, and he didn't want to work a landscaping job, and he was trying to get onto a team, you know? So it was a pretty interesting split, but everyone there was very hardworking, very driven, which is exactly the kind of people I like being around and why I was initially interested in it. And also, it's just cool, right? Same thing with a lot of the other things I've pursued, like being a firefighter. I do like helping people. I think that is my purpose here on this earth is to help people. But it's also a really cool job, right? Driving the truck, fighting fires, getting to run cool medical calls, doing pub eds with the kids and showing them all the stuff on the truck,
Hmm.
working on a pit crew, changing tires, filling up gas cans, doing strongman and traveling all over the place and meeting cool people. So I've always had the opportunity to do really cool jobs or jobs that let me do what other people would think are really cool things
Hmm.
on top of it, being fulfilling.
Hmm.
But yes, it was another time where I was like, no, I just want to be really strong. Just gonna go do that.
Yeah, yeah, it's good that you know who you are. Okay,
Yeah,
so you started in strongman. You got to go to Arnold. It was super cool. Everybody wants to go to
yeah,
Arnold. Like, I'm gonna do another two or
everybody.
three strongman competitions and try to make it for the Masters.
Yeah,
But let's go to because I've already had you for a long time. So if you got
yeah,
gas in the tank, I'm chewing
I
off
do.
drops. Can we go through your events for the America's Strongest Woman? Can we talk about that competition that you just got done with and just won?
Absolutely. We can most certainly talk about that.
All right, cool.
You want to
So
start at the top?
yeah, well, let's talk about just real quick. What does your like kind of like meet prep and peak cycle look like getting ready for the show? So like how soon, how far away from the show does it become all eyes on that competition? Like your kind of general stuff goes away and you're really focused on meet prep. Like how far out does that cycle start for you?
At this point, it starts about 8 weeks out.
Hmm.
So 8 weeks out, we started mixing in. I will say that Alec is not someone who programs doing the exact event,
Hmm.
right? Typically, what we do is we train the qualities that you need to be good at the event.
Hmm.
So for the circus dumbbell, we didn't actually run the entire event, the entire prep. I never did a full 60-second run of that event.
Hmm.
I only did the deadlift ladder one time leading into the event. So we start training the qualities. Okay, you need to be able to do deadlift reps on an axle. So we started pushing that probably 8 weeks out. We started pushing being able to do a circus dumbbell 4 reps and just being able to do the amount of weight I needed to do.
Hmm.
Probably 8 weeks out, we alternated. So he does a lot of alternating work with us. So what that means is one week you'll do really heavy frame deadlifts, whatever, right? And then next week you'll flip it and you'll do speed work. So I would do really heavy frame with a time cap. So I would go as heavy as I could within whatever time cap he had given me. And then the next week it would be speed work. And we'd alternate that back and forth. I don't know if he wants me to share that or not, but
It's too late. Your
it's
secrets
too
are out,
late.
Alec. It's a
Your
smart way to
secrets
do
are
it
out.
because when you get into the competition, like there's different energy systems and there's different skills associated with each one. So like if you don't kind of
Yeah,
practice the different elements of it, and I know I hadn't really been doing any deadlift for a long time after I tore a bicep tendon. So my prep for the
yeah,
show was like if you saw it written on paper, it probably looked absolutely insane. But that's what you have to do to get ready for it, to try to develop as many of those qualities as you can. It takes a little
yeah.
shuffling.
And the biggest thing is that we really just shift from, we press year round, we squat year round, we deadlift year round, but you'll start shifting it to, oh, we're on an axle bar at this show.
Hmm.
Oh, we're on wagon wheels at this show. So then the deadlift prep becomes more specific to whatever bar, whatever variation is being used at the show, and then whatever quality you need to be good at it. So for this one, it was a ladder. So I would do whatever my deadlift workout was, and then I would have reps at the end. So I would
Hmm.
just do reps at whatever percentage he programmed so that I was good at doing reps at a pretty high percentage of my 1 rep max. What else did we do for the sandbag throw? The sandbag throw is a pretty disappointing one for me because I'm typically very good at sandbag throws. But we do sandbag throws once a week, and he would give me whatever weight he wanted me to hit, and I would hit that for a few singles, and then towards the end of the prep, we would do build up to a heavy single, which is really nice at Dungeon because we've got a wall covered in sandbags.
Hmm.
But 8 weeks out, we start really dialing it in. We start training whatever qualities you need for each event. I've gotten a lot better over the years with my nutrition. So my nutrition 8 weeks out is I'm tracking my food. I'm depending on what my body weight is, it depends on how often I get to go out and eat. I don't really drink very much anyways,
You had
but
to do just
typically
a
with
little bit of a cut for this one, right?
yeah, was I was actually really nice. I was in maintenance calories the entire prep for this show because I had just finished cutting for Rainier and Pro Strongman League. So I had cut weight and made weight for both of those shows. Rainier was in June, Pro Strongman League was in July. We started prep for America's Strongest in August. And so I was already on weight for what I needed to do. So I basically just stayed, which was nice because I got probably 50 to 75 grams more carbs per day than I normally would get during a prep, which made me feel a lot better.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I weigh all my food out when I'm in prep. Typically, I'd probably say like 80% of the time. Oh, what else? My sleep is probably my biggest weak point when it comes to my meat preps, just because I get up for work at 5 o'clock in the morning
Yeah.
and get home whenever I get home, and I'm trying to be in bed between 10 and 11, and most of the time that happens, but
Yeah.
it's the place where I could pick up the easiest improvements, I would say.
Yeah, yeah. And sleep's good for a lot, right? Like that's if you're out there watching this and you're thinking like, well, what can I take away or what can I pick up? If you can get another hour of sleep, that's huge.
That is huge. That's like, yeah, I would agree with that. A lot of people, when they ask me what I'm doing for recovery, they're like, oh, do you do like cryotherapy, chiropractor, physical therapy? It's like, yeah, I've got a chiropractor. The job I work at has physical therapists and athletic trainers. So if I have something that's nagging or bothering me, I can ask them questions. But the two biggest things that will help you improve your performance is eating right and getting enough sleep. If you're not doing those two things, you're like stepping over $100 bills to pick up nickels, you
Yep.
know?
Yep.
There is no supplement on the face of the earth that can make up for getting 8 to 10 hours of sleep.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. It's the king.
It is. So, but my prep leading into the show, I would say was probably one of my best preps ever. We were hitting on all cylinders. I pulled the deadlift ladder without straps in training with no problems. I cleared a 37-pound sandbag in training with no problems. I was hitting 265 to 270 every time I did overhead work, and I hit 285 every time I trained and couldn't do the recovery. So
Hmm.
I would lock it out, and I would either lose it behind me or lose it in front of me.
Hmm. But it was there. You were flirting with it.
It was there. And I did 290 in our last off-season block on a women's weightlifting bar, which is very different than doing
Hmm.
it on a power bar. What were our other events? I hit the frame weight the first time I trained it. I was really hoping the frame was going to be a little heavier, but it made it I think it made the event more exciting for the crowd that we did a lot of reps. But my prep for that was really good. I was a little worried about the circus dumbbell. That's historically been an event that I've struggled with. So for that to be one of what I would say one of my best events at the show was pretty surprising. Not It was surprising to me if you had told me 12 weeks ago it would be one that I won, because I would have said, "Oh, I'm going to finish like top 4."
Hmm. Yeah, yeah.
Let's see. The kegs I was worried about cuz kegs and I have historically not gotten along.
You start about 8 weeks out. You really dial in towards
Yeah.
the show. The last like,
Yeah.
is it what like 8 or 10 days or something like that, where your volume just like kind of goes away and you just are mostly doing some event touch up and stuff, and then time for the meet. What does that last 2 weeks look like roughly? I don't want to give away Alex trades secrets.
Last week of the show is pretty much just hitting my water cut. So
Hmm.
I might go in and do a few squats. I might do some sled work or something on the bike, some bodybuilding,
Hmm.
but it's next to no volume. I do almost no training the week of. The week before, I think the week before is when I'll do a couple of event runs. I'll do some heavy singles, but the volume is ultra, ultra low. 2 weeks out or 3 weeks before that is probably our hardest week of training.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, it's the intensity is very high. I would say 2 weeks out, and then the week of it's nothing. I don't want to give away too many of Alex's secrets, so
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
all
Yeah.
I'm gonna say
Yeah. Yeah.
about what we do. But
So you get to the show. What was the first event on show day?
First event was my favorite event, max overhead. And that was one that I was like, this is the one I'm going to put a show on with.
Hmm.
That is one that I think leading into the show was one that I knew I could win as long as I showed up and did what I was supposed to. I'm not going to lie, I was really nervous, mostly because I think people were expecting me to do really well.
Right. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You've got a competitive history that's solid. You've got a weightlifting history, and we're doing an overhead event, right? It's kind of like right up your alley, your bread and butter.
Yeah, and I had posted a 290, 8 to 10 weeks earlier, had been posting 270, 265 pretty much every week. So go in, did the absolute best split jerks of my entire life in that event. Ended up hitting 285 and winning the event. So I started off the weekend in first place and never let go of it.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
All right, so second event.
Second event, axle deadlift ladder. I want to say the weights were 330, 360, 400, 425. I chose to pull it with no straps.
Yeah, I actually thought that that was your most impressive event, like after I was watching everything, just because you went no straps and there was no hesitation. Like you killed each one of those reps, and so I was like, that's awesome. On an
Yeah,
axle, no straps is awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
I pulled it no straps in training. So I pulled 400 no straps in training, probably 4 to 6 weeks out. Did our one deadlift ladder day, no straps, didn't post it because I didn't want to give away my secret.
Uh-huh. Yeah, yeah.
And I will, I guess now the show's over, I can say on the very last bar, if Nancy had made me hold it for 1 second longer, I would have dropped it. Like it was sliding out of my hand as she gave me the down command. And in my head, I'm like, shit, 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 shit.
Did you have straps on? I don't remember from the video. Did you have straps on just in case?
I did. I had them pulled up way
Okay.
up at
Yeah,
the
yeah.
top of my shirt
Yeah.
just in case. And I pulled the third one and I felt it slide a little bit in my hands. And I was like, oh, this fourth one is going to be a risk. But if I use the straps, I don't win the event. And I wanted to win the event.
Yeah.
So I just ran up, I grabbed the bar as hard as I physically could and pulled. And I felt it sliding out of my right hand. I think my right hand was my overhand.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch it real slow, you can see it start to open up my hands. I held on for the down command, and that's really all that matters
All that
in the
matters.
history books.
Yep. Yeah. Okay. Third event.
Third event was the hoist. The hoist was the great unknown because none of us had gotten to touch it except for Bailey, who did amateur nationals a few weeks earlier. So that one,
Lifts like that often are like great levelers because the speed matters, the strength matters, the technique matters. If you got a weakness in one of
yeah.
them, it can be really hard to make any progress on it.
Yeah, and it was a kind of a weird event. So the weight in hand didn't feel hard. And holding onto the rope itself didn't feel hard. It was just you would go to move your hands and you'd watch the whole basket drop,
Uh-huh.
which is pretty frustrating.
Uh-huh.
And the coaching cues that I got were, grab on as hard as you can, pull back until you're parallel to the floor. And it felt like I was parallel to the floor and I wasn't even close
Yeah.
when I went back and watched the video. So the times ended up being really close across the entire board. I believe I finished fourth in that event, which wasn't a really good showing, but it was the one event that I didn't get to actually train in training. We did a lot of arm over arm training for that,
Mhm.
both standing and seated, and I don't know, it wasn't my best work. I definitely need to work on my arm over arm transitions, and I think that'll pick me up points in the future.
That's kind of a staple of strongman though, right? To show up and have some event that like what even is this?
Yeah, like, what are we doing? Yeah. There's been several events over the years that I'm like, there's no way you could have trained for this.
Uh-huh.
You try your best, but there's no way you can train for the exact event.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it reminds me of like the old, like the classic strongman from like the 70s and early 80s and stuff where they'd show up and they'd be like, "We're gonna do a wrist roller." And you're like, "Okay, well, who trains for that at 400 pounds or whatever?"
Exactly. Yeah, we're gonna do a backlift or something. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
The lever squat at the Arnold was the same way, right? They told us we were doing a lever squat. So I just trained low bar squats for the entire prep off of pins.
Yeah.
And then we got to the event and I remember doing the lift and I was like, I feel like I'm doing good mornings. Like I don't feel like I'm using my legs very much. And the
Uh-huh.
next day, my lower back was completely destroyed. It's like, oh my God, I can't touch my toes.
Yeah. So after the arm over arm or the lift, the hoist?
The hoist, that was the end of day one. So, end of day one, I walked away with 2 event wins and a fourth place finish. First event for day two was the frame into circus dumbbell, which I was very excited about, mostly because I had done 6 reps in training, and I knew that Grace had done a lot of reps in training, so I knew we were going to get to have we didn't end up going head to head, but I knew that we were going to get to put on a show for the crowd.
Huh?
I don't know if you noticed, but I really I like when I get to go out in the front of the crowd and like make a show. I think it's fun. And
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that's
It's a
what we're
great
here for,
time.
you know?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. I was real surprised competing. So, like, I'd done track meets, but in track meets, you're kind of removed from the audience, like they sit up in bleachers and
Yeah.
stuff, and you're out 100, 200, 300 feet away from them or whatever. And I'd done really
Yeah.
big track meets where there was full stands and lots of people cheering. But going to do a strongman where there's like 60 people crammed in a little gym and they're all like, it's inescapable. It's like they're in your head.
They're right there. Yeah, and
Yeah.
the crowd was right off of the edge of the floor, so when you finished, you could go talk to the crowd if you wanted to. Which is really nice because one of my teammates was right on the front row. Some of my friends were right in the front row. Lucas's parents are right there. So you could just go walk over and talk to him at the end. You could walk out from around and talk to him between events, which I did. But I remember sitting in the back for the frame circus dumbbell, and Jenny Draper and Grace were in the heat right before me. So Jenny's my teammate, so I wanted to watch her go.
Hmm.
But I also knew that I needed to count Grace's reps, so I knew how many I had to do,
Yeah.
and she smoked the frame. I'm watching her do reps, and I'm like, all right, cool. She's probably gonna do like 5, 6. It's not gonna be bad. And then she does 8.
Yep. Yeah. She showed up.
She showed up. She was ready. And I just knew the next 60 seconds of my life were really gonna suck. And I may or may not have lost count while I was doing it. So I just kept doing reps as fast as I could. I was like, I'm pretty sure I did 9, but I don't know. So I'm going to do another one. And that's the one I missed and dropped behind me. That would
Uh-huh.
have been 10.
Yeah. Yeah. That
So
was
that was,
obviously a push. Like I was super impressed by the axle deadlift, but that circus dumbbell was obviously like, you could see that you were like, doing a little bit of like time travel, like you were checked out, just going.
yeah, I saw the wizard in that event for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that was a huge PR. So I'd only done 5 or 6 in training on my right. And what I was planning on doing is I was planning on doing 5 or 6 on the right, and then switching on the way down to my left, coming up and hitting 2 or 3 on the left.
Mhm.
But I knew on the left side too, when I go to set up on the left, it takes me just a split second longer to find that rack position, just because it's my non-dominant arm. And so I knew if I was going to beat her and do 9 reps, I couldn't switch arms.
Yeah. It had to be smooth.
So I just kept banging out reps literally until I missed and just hoped it was enough.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I knew when I came off the field, she was flipping me off. Apparently, you can see that in the live stream if you go back and watch it. And I knew I had beat her when she flipped me off.
That's great. It's great having people to compete with, like,
Yeah,
yeah, it's wonderful.
it's so fun. And I will say that the 73-kilo women all really get along and cheer for each other. And we had an absolute blast in the back room. Like, we were joking around all weekend, cracking up, having a good time. It was they're a really good group, and I feel like people enjoy watching them compete. Not just me, but the entire group. You
Yeah.
know,
Yeah. So, was the circus the last event, or was
that
there
was that was day
day
that
two?
was event one of day two. So then we
Okay.
had the sandbag throw.
Okay.
I don't think anybody did as well in the sandbag throw as they thought they were going to do, except maybe Jenny. Jenny hit 32. I think in training she'd done 35 or 37, but and I think some of the other girls maybe hit pretty close to what they did in training, but I know Grace only hit 32. I only hit 30. I don't think anybody hit 35, and I think 3 or 4 of the women leading up hit 35 pounds in training. So that was pretty, I don't know, I would say for our entire class, that particular event was probably not our best showing, but
Well, I think that's just a byproduct of being a human. Like you guys had one day that was a hard day, and when you come in the next day, the speed stuff isn't going to be as good. Like it's just human nature, right? Speed goes before strength goes. So, you know,
yeah,
you kind of gotta expect a little bit of a decrement in performance after you've had 3 max effort events that are all going to involve major trunk stability and then try to come in and do a heavy sandbag throw.
Yeah. Well, for me, my 32, I threw it high enough 3 times and it fell in front of the implement.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for
Yeah.
me, that was what was disappointing, is knowing that not only could I have cleared it and that I had cleared it in training, was watching it fall in front of the implement 3 times. And then knowing that I think after event one, I was up by like 8 points, like I was ahead of the field by a lot, and that cut my lead to 4.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So that particular event, for me especially, I'm pretty disappointed in, just not because I did anything wrong, but just because I made a small trajectory mistake and it
Yeah.
cost me a lot of points.
Yeah.
And it's also not a very good reflection of the kind of sandbag thrower that I really am.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the sport though, right? Is it's all those little
Yeah,
the details and the transitions and I mean, how many times has, I mean, what is it? The Brian Shaw's like 3.5 points away from winning like 8 world's strongest man titles, and they're almost all just
yeah,
like caught a sandbag on a lip or something, some little thing.
yeah. Oh, yeah, those little points,
Yeah.
those little seconds in between all those events, they add up.
Yeah.
So that was not to talk about a different show again, but me not getting on the podium at the Arnold, I missed a deadlift.
Hmm.
I missed that sandbag throw, which cost me some time. I had to press the circus dumbbell twice. And those little things, they all added up and they put me in fourth place instead of second or third. I don't think I was within a points distant or in a spot to have won it, but I was definitely in a spot to have gotten on the podium, and those little mistakes,
Yeah.
they added up.
Yeah.
But yeah, those little points, they're everywhere. Lucas has talked about that a lot, that happened to him at Strongest
Yeah.
Man
Yeah.
on Earth. Yeah, they're everywhere.
Yeah.
So, but it was disappointing, and it's something that I will most certainly be working on quite a bit
Hmm.
this off season.
Yeah, not gonna happen again.
No, it will not happen again.
Yeah. So it was the frame and the circus, and then the bag over bar on day
Yeah,
two. Was there a
day
third
two.
event? I didn't watch. I didn't
Third
get to watch
event,
the events in order, so I don't know. Where they
the
all go.
the last event was the keg carry and load.
Okay.
So keg carry and load, I was really excited about going into the show, and I was excited about it because coming off of that injury in 24, my moving events were not very good. I had not had very good showings, and then going into 25, we had worked on it so hard that I was finally putting together some really, really good results in my moving events. I won the Farmers Carry at Pro Strongman League. I won I won the carry arm over arm event at Pro Strongman League, and I finished second in the sandbag carry and load. The only person that beat me at that was Jenny. So, and I'd had some really good training runs with the kegs. I had run sub 30 seconds several times with the kegs leading into it, and I knew that sub 30 would be good enough to get me in the top three. I also knew that there was only 3 or 4 people that would probably go sub 30. So I was really excited. I
Hmm.
was like, this is my chance to show people I can move, right? Like 2025 is the year I am not just good at pressing, I'm good at moving too.
Hmm.
First keg, me and Grace get to the bar at the same time. Second one, she beats me there, but I catch up to her on the way to the third keg. The third keg, I pick it up, and as I stand up, that's when I shifted back into my heels, and we still don't know if my foot's broken or not, but that's when I had the incident where I maybe broke my foot.
Yeah.
So basically what happened is, from what I can tell in the video, is the keg pinned my right foot to the ground, and as it rotated, it smashed all the bones together. So if there is a bone that's broken, it's because I compressed one of the bones in my feet together between the other bones and maybe
Yeah.
fractured it.
Yeah.
So that happens. In real time, I thought I had dropped the keg on my foot because all I felt was my foot crack like a glow stick,
Uh-huh.
and it immediately hurt. And then I saw the keg and I knew I had to finish the event, and I had so much adrenaline in my system that I jump up, grab the keg, carry it down and load it, and immediately just fall on the ground.
Yeah.
And I don't remember I actually don't know where I finished in that event. I just know that I finished good enough to not lose.
Yeah.
I was sitting in the back. I was like, "Did I win?" They're like, "Your foot's broken." I was like, "I don't care." I don't
I
care.
don't care.
I just want to know if I won.
It is funny when you've been in like sports for long enough, injuries are just kind of like it's almost like you just woke up on the wrong side of the bed one day. It's like you're like, "Oh yeah, that's
Yeah,
we'll be all right."
yeah. So on the floor, I fell down and I thought I had dropped the keg on my foot. So I'm sitting on the ground. I'm hyperventilating. Alex telling me to calm down. I'm like, take my shoe off. He's like, you have to slow down your breathing. I'll take your shoe off. And when they took my shoe off, my foot was in one piece. Like it wasn't mangled or funky looking or anything. So at that point, I knew if something was broken, it wasn't broken that bad, right? Like there's no blood. There's no, my foot didn't look like, the cartoons when they
Right,
run
right.
over it and it's flat.
Right.
So I was like, okay, it can't be that bad. I just can't walk on it. So if it is broken, it's not, career ending. It's just maybe I don't go to OSG. We don't know.
Yeah, yeah. A little rehab.
Yeah, a little rehab. So we go in the back, they put ice on it. All I care about is if I won or not. I just want to see the spreadsheet. I just want to know if I did it. I think I finished the event in like 35 or 36 seconds still, but ended up finishing that event, still won the show, became the first America's Strongest 73-kilo woman, even with what Lucas and Sturge have jokingly called my greatest attempt to cause myself to fail by missing the sandbag and then breaking my foot.
Yeah,
They're like, in spite of your best efforts, you're still the champion. I was
still
like,
the
thanks,
champion.
thanks, guys.
Imagine what she could do.
Imagine what I could do if I didn't stand in my own way.
Yeah. All right.
So,
Well, I think we did it. Like that was really great to see. Like it was nice to meet you ahead of time and everything, and then to be able
yeah,
to like watch the highlights and stuff as they came out. And so like congratulations. I'm glad that you're
thanks.
you're a third of the way up your vision board now. Still
Yeah,
got to get that world title, but
yeah.
pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And the thing about strongman is it's kind of like I've heard people call it kind of like golf, right? So there's Pro Strongman League, which is a world championship. There's the Arnold Pro Am, which is a world championship. There's OSG, which is a world championship. So you kind of have to pick up, and then there's America's Strongest or whatever continent, country you're on,
Mhm.
Europe's Strongest. So it's kind of like picking up all the majors, like you win the Masters and the US
Huh.
Open, and
Yeah.
so even since the beginning of the vision board, I've added, I added stuff as I went. So I added Win America's Strongest, Win Pro Strongman League, and I'm slowly like crossing all that stuff off the board.
Yep.
But those two are still up there, winning the Arnold and winning Worlds. I've still got to get those two knocked off.
So did winning Americas qualify you for Worlds or for the Arnold and or
So let's see. I qualified for OSG last year at OSG. So everyone that goes to the final is automatically qualified for the next
what
year.
they do for World's Strongest Man and some of the other shows? Yeah. Cool.
Yeah. So since I finished seventh, I had an automatic invite back. And then I believe for the Arnold, because I am a pro, I'm automatically invited forever.
Oh, cool. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, so now it's just about get that foot healthy, get prepped, show up ready to party.
Yeah. So I'm walking around. I've actually been standing here this whole time.
Okay.
So we're not training heavy moving events right now. I get a CT scan in about a week. I don't know. By the time I don't know when this is going to come out, but October 30th I will find out whether or not my foot's broken or not. And then we get to either start training, we'll either start training heavy moving events or we'll basically keep doing what we're doing right now, which is just static strength because what they're worried about is if I start moving with heavy stuff is that it'll make the fracture worse if there is one. And then if it is fractured, I can keep loading it and it should heal anyways.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. Yeah,
So,
yeah. Hopefully it'll be fine. Hopefully it's not a big deal.
yeah.
Hopefully if there is an injury, if something's messed up, hopefully it is a break and not like a tear. Those foot ligaments are such a pain in the ass to rehab.
Yeah, I'm sure that I don't think anything's torn, but I know it's all aggravated because my foot gets pretty sore by the end of the night.
Yeah.
But on the flip side of that, considering what could have happened based on what some of the still shots I have from that event are, the fact that my ACL is in one piece, my
Yeah.
Achilles is in one piece, I
Yep.
didn't drop the keg on my foot,
Yeah, it's a win.
I could deal,
You
yeah, my
finished the
hairline,
event, you won the show.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Small
So
price to pay for glory. Yep.
it happens.
It happens. All right. Well, I think that we did it. I've got. I'm actually gonna do a one with Sturgeon here in a few minutes, so I gotta get off.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for being on. Where can people find you at, Sarah?
You can find me on Instagram at Coach Sarah Johnson.
And keep your eyes out because she's competitive and she's not giving up anytime soon.
That's right. I'm making lots of choices just to be strong.
Yeah. Like, comment, subscribe, share. Really helps out the show. We appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. Thanks so much for being here.
All right. Thank you for having me.
Yep. All right.